As I sit here sanding this thing, in my last video, I did some talk about where I grew up and how life was back then, growing up. And where I grew up was Quakertown, Pennsylvania. And unfortunately, within the last 24 hours, my alma mater of Quakertown High School is now all over the news. And, I try to think back that if there was anything political that would have drove me to skip school, protest, and that stuff. And to be honest, maybe it's the internet, maybe it's social media and how that affects kids or whatever, and maybe it's the teachers. I'm not going to get into any politics here, but all I got to say is my mind was not thinking about politics back then. I was thinking about girls, cars, my job, where I was going to go for the weekend, maybe a test that was coming up, maybe a sports game that was going on, laughing, joking, having a good time, hanging out with my friends. Those are the kind of things I think about. And, if I'm naive, give me the naivety. Naivety? Is that even a word? I don't know. Let me be naive, because I would much prefer that than to be so upset about something that essentially doesn't even affect them. Doesn't affect them at all. I just don't see where the purpose is of what took place, and I'm not going to place blame on anybody or anything, but it was sad for me. It was truly sad to see a place I had such great memories growing up plastered all over the evening news for some shenanigans involving politics with high school age kids. I don't see it. I don't see the purpose. Like I said, paint me naive if you want to, stupid, ill-informed, whatever. But I think most of us would go back to those days in school where we didn't have to worry about that stuff. We weren't worried about paying the mortgage or, the light bill going out or putting food on the table, because our parents did that, and we were just there to enjoy being a kid. And I can't, for the life of me, I am completely and totally dumbfounded. And that just doesn't go for Quakertown. It goes for the other ones I've seen across the country. It's the same thing. You can't help but reflect your own experiences with stuff that you see in the news. And, somebody sent this to me. I didn't see it on my own. I am a little unplugged. I have a few shows I watch from time to time, but for the most part, I try to stay unplugged, because there's nothing in the news that's going to make you happy. There's nothing there that's it's going to fulfill you. It's just either going to make you angry, upset, doubtful, questionable. You start questioning everything, and I just don't see the purpose of it. So, it's my hope, and it's my hope that adults start being adults. And there's a time and place for everything. Peaceful protest is one thing. Violent protest is another. And unruliness needs to be met swiftly and strictly with harshness, because we have to have a society of rules, or we have anarchy and chaos, and then that affects everybody. You get these cars done and we take them out and we drive them around. Hopefully we can drive them around in a society where we can just kind of enjoy ourselves, not have to worry about all that stuff. To me, this is what's most important. Besides my family, it's my project and my time. But yeah, I wanted to touch base on that. It's kind of hard not to after I did a whole video last time about Quakertown and growing up there and what the car culture was like. But of course, maybe that's the problem. You know, as kids nowadays don't have an interest in cars. They don't have an interest in much of anything, you know, besides online activities. And there's nothing better than real life. Online will never get you what you need to online experiences will never match actually doing it. You know, it's cool. We all like playing the video games. My wife loves playing the video games where she can ride a horse and do all this and that, the other, but that doesn't beat riding a horse in real life. You know, it doesn't beat experiencing, smelling the air, feeling the water, feeling the breeze against your skin. It just doesn't change that. So I wanted to touch base on the situation in Quakertown, and I hope it gets better. And I hope that the adults in the room stay adults. And if students were being disruptive and acting like out of control adults, then they should be treated as out of control adults. And they shouldn't be pampered and babied. And you know, the comments I seen were just all over the place, blaming the cops and blaming this, that, the other. Look, your ass was supposed to be in school. You know, we used to have a guy running around Quakertown, we called him Squirrely. I can't remember his real name, but he's a truant officer. And cripes, he was not only the truant officer when I was in school, he was a truant officer when my mother was in school. And he was, think about like Ichabod Crane type of character, real skinny, you know, Disney, real skinny guy with a big nose, and he could run like the wind. He was in his 60s, that motherfucker could run. Excuse my language. He could run. And maybe that's part of the problem. We don't have truant officers anymore. I mean, none of them were following the rules. All of them should be expelled. They were told, you know, they originally had planned this thing and then they decided not to have it because they didn't want any problems. Well, you know what? Things change and need to step up. So anyways, that's my 2 cents. Not that you care at all, and you're free to your own opinions, and I don't want to get into a big old political discussion here. It's beyond anything that has to do with politics. This is about my high school experiences in Quakertown compared to what happened with those kids yesterday, and how I just can't see where there would have been anything going on in the world that would have made me care enough to cut school and protest. I mean, for what? But in any case, let's get back to work. We're sanding. Let me go into one more thing on this whole subject about what took place at, you know, this Quakertown High School students. Let me talk directly to the students. Students, if you were part of this protest yesterday, let me ask you a question. What do you possibly think that was going to accomplish? You're not able to vote yet. These are the kind of conversations you should be having with your parents. You should be talking to them about how you feel about certain things. Maybe they can explain things a little better to you. You're not going to learn it all from them teachers at school. You're not going to learn it from your friends. And if you're following along with what some teacher told you to do, or how they fired you up, you need to start thinking for yourself. School is about critical thinking. You need to take the ability to take the facts, the actual facts, and ask questions and come up with your own ideas. If you're just following somebody else for what they did, that's not good. But you're not old enough to vote. If you're in high school, it's going to be a year or two before you can vote. At that time when you can vote, then you can kind of make choices. It's not always going to go your way. Like I said last time, life is not fair. It's not fair. And it's not equal. But I can tell you this. You need to wake the hell up. Look at the world around you. And decide what kind of person you're going to be. If you got arrested yesterday for the shenanigans, congratulations. Hopefully you were under the age of 18, because now you got a record. For what? Because you were upset about something you have no control over? You know, these things happen miles away. And you're not hearing the whole story. It's up to you to do the research. And get the whole facts. Get both sides of the story and come up with, a reasonable, educated opinion. Not one that's been spoon-fed you, whether it's by the television set or your friends. And maybe that's a little bit different between our generation and yours. Our generation, we didn't take what people told us at face value. Maybe that's Generation X. Maybe that's just where I grew up. We never took things at face value. We knew what was to learn something, and we knew what was to question. And we always asked those questions. If somebody's telling you, oh, this is so terrible, and this, that, the other, and blah, 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 well, you need to start asking, why? Why is this happening? What's actually going on? Be smart, people. You're the future of this country. And us older gents and ladies, we need to be able to sit back and relax and think that, hey, they got this. And to be honest, in the last 5 years, I'm not feeling very confident. Work ethic sucks. Your attitude sucks. You don't know whether you're coming or going half the time. You got no desire for anything besides what's in your little phone in front of your face. That's it. Anything beyond that, any relationship with people outside, family, friends, co-workers, it seems just not to matter. And it bothers me, because as much as this thing has helped bridge, the ability to be able to research things, and you basically got an entire library in your hand and a computer in your hand to do all kinds of stuff. But what do we do with it? This thing has been the bane of society. It's been a plus and a minus. People walk, they can't look. I'm just as guilty. I'd leave this thing laying somewhere. I'm like, I feel naked. Where's my phone? Think about when we were kids and we had payphones. And how would your parents feel nowadays if you said, hey, I'm heading out, see you in a few hours, and they had no idea where you were, no idea what you were doing, no idea how to get a hold of you, and just wait till you get home? And it started at a young age for us. I was riding up and down the road when I was like 6, 7 years old on a bicycle 2 miles down the road, play with a bunch of kids that were older than me. Anything could happen. Going to play in the creek, down by the damn pond, off in the woods. It's just a different time period, I guess. But wake up, people. Start thinking about things. What affects you? What benefits you? What are you going to accomplish? And is it all worth it? For your sanity, if nothing else. Your ability to enjoy life, be happy. That none of that stuff makes you happy. It just makes you miserable. So, knock it off. Listen, you've got the rest of your life to pay mortgages, buy groceries, worry about politics. You're in high school. Enjoy it. It's going to be the best years of your life. And one day you're going to wish you could go back. But I doubt you'll even remember any of this stuff. You might remember the arrest. But as far as anybody else in your class, they had some kind of stupid protest. What was it all? I don't know what it was about. Take advantage of the time that you have with your friends, because they're all going to go, in the next 5-10 years, they're all going to go in different directions. Going to have kids of their own. They're going to go off to college. You're not going to see them anymore. You're going to move away. Some are going to join the military. And none of this stuff matters. So enjoy your youth while you have it.